I can't teach skill set if I don't know that their mindset is right. So we have to start with their mindset.
Welcome to Superpower with Kristine Milkovich, the podcast where we help you unleash your inner hero. Whether you're a change maker, a trailblazer, or just looking to level up, this is the space to uncover your unique superpower and transform it into unstoppable momentum. Join me as we dive deep with inspiring guests, sharing their game-changing insights, empowering us all to be the hero of our own stories. Get ready to embrace your deepest purpose, own your power, and change the world one bold move at a time. Today, I have the great honor and privilege of introducing one of the professional salon owners in our industry that is so revered, and she is a top awarded salon owner. I happen to also get my hair done there and just got myself groomed up last week. So I can actually truly speak from the heart. Mandy and her team at Fix Salon, they give incredible service, highly skilled technicians. Notably, Mandy's career has been nothing short of amazing, being a national education educator, platform artist, coach, and again, a year after year after year, highly acclaimed, top awarded salon owner. So we're going to jump right into this episode. And Mandy, welcome to Superpower.
Hi, Christine. Thank you so much for having me. It's so nice to see you on this platform. It's amazing.
When I was in the salon the other day and I said, hey, Mandy, it's not like your dance card is full and you're not wearing 7 million hats that you love and adore, but would you be so kind to pop over to Superpower for 45 minutes? So thank you. I always lead with that gratitude. I know you could be doing lots of other things. So super, super appreciative of your time. So for our listeners, here we are moving through building out this platform to your point. Thank you. This Superpower podcast. And one of the marketing taglines is unleashing your inner hero. And really, the concept when I think about that tagline, and I think of you personally, professionally, I know you and I know you personally, and I'm very fortunate to be able to say that, is you have so many superpowers. So we're going to see what you decide to put a pin in it at the end here. That being said, take us a little bit through your journey on having this tenure and this amazing depth of work that you're so skilled at. What was the thing that sort of motivated you to get on the path of being a salon owner? And kind of tell us a little bit about how you initially came to that decision.
I think that my path to being a salon owner wasn't direct. It wasn't something I dreamed of doing in my entire life. But what had happened is after being a stylist for many years in Seattle, I had a very small salon, total of 3 chairs, where I had 2 of my friends who were booth renting from me. And at that point in time, like throughout my career, my passion is really growing people in the hair industry. And so, as an extension of that passion, what I realized is that there was more that I could give than what I was currently doing. So, it was at that point in time, probably I think it was back around 2014, that I decided to expand our business model to start making an employee based company. And with that versus the booth rental model, just for people who aren't familiar with our industry, that means that in a booth rental, all of the hairstylists operate independently. They're running their own business, just renting that chair space from the salon owner. When you move to the employee model, now they are all employees. They are hourly or commission based, whichever is higher. And then the owner is responsible for supporting them in their client growth and supporting them in education and really acting as a coach day to day with them to help their individual success. So it was at that point in time that I changed into that model. And all of the hats that I wear, as you were mentioning, being a salon owner is one of them. And then also having worked for Redken for over 22 years, an educator for them. I work for High Performance Salon Academy, which is salon ownership coaching and business academy as well. But all of these things come back to the core of helping all of us in the hair industry live our best life and helping to grow through continuing education.
Wow, I love that. That is clear as day. And a couple things came up for me as you were talking about that is versus the booth rental model. And again, for respectfully for those listening on the show that have never worked in the industry or maybe didn't know this, I know it's on a lot of my bios that I do have a background in the industry, and that's again how I was able to connect with you and be colleagues and community friends. But would you say from the booth rental concept to the employee concept, you kind of touched on it, is it gives you the ability to also help create more consistency, more on purpose branding, really giving that client that end result that really, quite frankly, allows you to have a little bit more say and control in. So tell us a little bit more about why that's such a good thing.
There's benefits in both of the worlds for sure, and finding which one is a right fit for you. And it's the same thing. Like if you work for Microsoft, you can be a contracted employee or you can be an employed employee. So similar ideas in a lot of different business aspects. But for me, in being a business owner that has an employee-based stylist team, is that, yeah, to that point we can brand ourselves. I can be consistent with our client experience, we can be consistent in the products that we use, we can be consistent in our education, versus when we're in booth rent, I literally have no control or say, and we all are just kind of pinky swearing that we're going to live by the same code of honor in the space that we live in. So as an employee-based company, if something doesn't go as expected from a client's perspective, they can come back to us and I can absolutely help to manage that and resolve that for them. And I have a whole team of people with varying types of style that I can help to partner with to ensure that they're getting the result that they're looking for.
I love that. That's very helpful to sort of disseminate, like, what is the difference and where's those value propositions for both. So that kind of goes into onboarding when you're looking to, tap people for talent or maybe getting somebody on a succession plan to, go up to that next tier. How does that impact then the type of people? I know when I do my homework on every guest, even for folks like you that I know well and have some history with, and I know the consistent thing in your copy and in your branding and in your company story is a positive mindset. People that are, my words, sort of open to that concept of living and being. So, that being said, Mandy, what are some of those things that really become self evident to you during the interview process and sort of that archetypal person that you're looking for that will align well with your culture?
So, what we're looking for in an onboarding process, and I'm just going to give you, it's kind of the one magic question that any employer in any industry can ask to have a really clear insight as to where's the mindset of the person you're talking to. The first thing I always ask anyone whenever we open an interview is, tell me one amazing thing you're looking forward to today. That question is the magic question over how are you today? How's your day starting out? Because what I'm looking for is I'm looking for the opportunity to discover if that person can go into positive mindset and share something that's exciting about their day. That immediately lets me know kind of the opening point of their mindset, which is really important. If the response to that question is like, well, I mean, it's not raining today. Like, oh, okay. We are maybe dealing with someone who maybe has some limitations and positive mindset, might need some more coaching in that area. But if we have somebody like, oh my gosh, thank you for asking. My boyfriend and I are going to go to the farmer's market and we're just so excited, even if it's rainy, love these rainy days. Then I know, oh, there's a lot of great positivity in the mindset of the individual I'm speaking to.
That is great. So that is kind of your sort of your entry point, and then you go from there. Love
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. And I just think, we always want to ask about what are some successes. We like to ask people what do they love to do. And anytime I ask these questions, I'm really listening closely to understand not just their response, but where is their excitement and positivity within that response. It tells me a
Mhm.
lot about what I can expect from them as they come into our team and where we may need to direct coaching for them. I think what I've really learned over the last, I'll just say, I'm going to cap this at 22 years of working and training individuals coming into our industry, but again, goes through all industries, is that right now, it's not necessarily, I can't teach skill set if I don't know that their mindset is right. So we have to start with their mindset first and help them retrain. A lot of times we talk about a little voice. We all have a little voice. I know you have a little voice. I have a little voice. And it's that voice that talks to us in our head nonstop as we're going throughout our day. Now, what happens sometimes if we don't train that muscle, our little voice is a muscle, if we don't train it, sometimes that little voice can be our biggest detractor. and it can tear us down. It can say, you didn't do that well enough. You weren't good at that. You messed that up. And those are going to be limiting mindset beliefs. So, what we want to do when we work with these team members as they come into our companies is we really want to help encourage strengthening that little voice to be their biggest cheerleader. Amazing job at trying something new. Even if it didn't go as expected, you still learned something. Just say yes to trying it, whether you know how to do it or not. Just jump in and do new experiences. Get outside of your comfort zone. That's the vibe that we want that little voice to direct ourselves to. And if we can master how to train mindset first, then skill set comes easily because now the mindset is in a positive place where it's willing and open to take risks and stepping outside of the comfort zone because it understands it's safe and it's encouraged and it will be rewarded. Then technical skill just is off the charts in growth because we've established the mindset.
Right. It goes back to that saying that one of our combined coaches at Redken said to me, it feels like a number of years ago, but I say it constantly is you can teach somebody how to do the waltz, but you can't necessarily teach them how to have rhythm. And I think that's a lot of your approach and your philosophy and certainly the amazing leadership that you're bringing to your brand and your team. I so love that, Mandy. You know, that brought up a couple questions for me is I believe back in the day, I had learned that in your, I think I would say youth, younger years, you have some background in dance, performance, you know, such a interesting, also artistic background that clearly you are bringing into this amazing career that you've developed and are continuing to grow. So that positive mindset piece, is that always been innate for you? Is that something that you were reared up hearing about? Or has this really been kind of a journey for yourself to sort of own and get that down in who you are and all your skills, and then bringing that forth and coaching your team? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, I believe that like where my mindset and like training my little voice, it's definitely been a journey. I have not been born with like the best mindset little voice. And I think that all of us, we all have insecurities and we all have a story, a perception of what's happened to us in the past and how we were treated, or something didn't go the way we wanted to, the relationship didn't work out. And it sets a tone sometimes for how that little voice encourage us or discourages us to take the next risk. So no, I've had to work really hard at it. And in the earlier part of my career, there were a lot of times where it held me back. But, even coming back into like my dance career, like I was a dancer and a dance instructor and a choreographer long before I was a hairstylist. But, we did a lot of like national competitions and going and competing, and that's something where you get a lot of coaching and feedback. And what I've learned through my entire journey is that if I don't jump off the cliff and trust the process and just give 110%, how can I ever be fairly coached to grow? I also have had to learn and realize, when are those coaches who are speaking to me, when are they coaching in the best interest of my growth versus when do they maybe have some ego in the way and their coaching is maybe more ego based than it is directed towards my personal growth. So I think with my scope of experience, I've learned how to master that more. And my little voice now is a very much yes, positive voice and pushes me into new things. And I'm like, I don't care if I get it right or wrong. I just want this experience because I know it'll help me grow. We literally fail forward, which is really important, but it's not something that I think I was born with. It definitely has taken some work to manage that.
It's so important for us to all hear other people have such vulnerability and transparency around that question because I think sometimes it's easy to be looking outside in and it's good to actually hear people say, you know, "Oh no, I get up every day and have to sharpen that saw just like anybody else." And certainly in your leadership role in the community and with your staff and the stage work you do, which we'll get to in a minute, it's that consistency of being in front of it. So you're always remembering what that feels like. I always say that in my current industry of real estate sales. The minute I forget how intense and exciting and scary and crazy it feels to be a first time home buyer, I'm out, right? Because then I'm not truly, to your point, my ego's in the way. It's like always remembering the sensitivities of maybe somebody that is going through the thing that you remember so well. So, Mandy was my very first Redken education teacher. So, back in the 23 years that I was in this amazing industry, Mandy came to a salon that I worked at the time, and she was my very, very first Redken mentor. And really, truly, at the end of the day, put me on a trajectory of discovery and curiosity and learning and figuring it out. So, I'm one story that can trace back to Mandy. So, knowing that there's countless lives, Mandy, at this point in your illustrious career that you've touched, certainly not only with the development of your employee team and your brand company, the countless hours you've put in globally and nationally as an awarded platform artist in your industry. Talk to us a little bit about how does that feel? I mean, that's a big responsibility. And how do you process that? How do you take that into your tool bag all the time knowing that you've touched so many lives through what you do?
I was just talking about this the other day to someone in that there was a poll taken in the UK in the early 2000s. And what they did is they interviewed thousands of people on job satisfaction. What is your career and how satisfied are you with your job? What was phenomenal about it is that the career with the number one job satisfaction was hairstylists. And that was founded based on the fact that in the world of hair, we have instant gratification for what we do. We literally get to make people's day better. And we are a happy industry. We're a feel good industry. There are a lot of people out there who work to live. I live to work, maybe almost at the risk of like, I need a hobby, you know, but I really love what I do. And when you love what you do, it just makes it so that you're so excited to wake up every morning and go take on whatever new task because of all the roles and responsibilities I have as a business owner, as a leader in my salon company, but also what I do with Redken. That's been a journey as well. I came into Redken being a technical educator. So I was teaching hair color and then teaching hair cutting. And now for the last 6 years, I've been honored, and it's truly an honor. You know, Redken is recognized as the leader of continuing education for salon professionals in our industry. I have now, for the last 6 years, been on the team to actually train our new Redken artist in how to educate and facilitate. And it's just incredible because of a company that I started with in 2002. Now I actually get to influence the direction of the next chapter of where Redken's going to go. So, you know, it's just these little things that you take a step. I never wanted to own a salon. I thought I was going to be a dancer. I ended up being a hairstylist. But wow, what gratitude I have for the career that I've chosen and the places it's taken me, because every day is such a joy to get to help people find their passion and grow. I always say exceeding their own expectations.
That is so beautiful. And it makes me think of the term, your legacy work, to your point. It's like you're doing it now, many, many, many more years ahead of you. Clearly, your runway is so long, but it's sort of leaving that legacy. And for you underscored a really important point that I just want to re-clarify for individuals on this episode, unlike you and I, that don't know anything about the salon professional industry from the back end. Mandy was being even almost a little bit humble. Redken is owned by L'Oreal. It's the largest cosmetic company in the world. They have some great brands, but Mandy's leadership is towards the Redken brand in the salons. And no joke, award winning, top player, all the things because of folks like you. So I think that's so incredible, your mindset. It's true. We've heard those people, the water cooler in the salon chair, for me down at an inspection, whatever, wherever at the airport, where they're just like, Monday. Oh, I don't want to get out of bed. Oh, I hate my job. Oh, I hate my boss. And it just pains me because I can relate to that. Is every day rainbows and butterflies? Sure isn't. But I can say I have nothing but gratitude and respect for my first career, and I'm on fire in love with my second one. But I just can relate to that, Mandy, is it's just got to be a real bummer. Right. Like it takes a lot of energy to do well at your career and your role and to give, and then to hate what you're doing, that would not be fun. So I love hearing your story around that. That being said, when we think of, um, this is something that I've always romanticized, and I mean that in the notion of it makes my heart happy, is, the salon, if we can think back hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years behind us, the salon environment, the provider, the culture, the vibe has been a hub of community, quite frankly, in every way, shape, and form. There is not a thing that I can say from firsthand experience behind the working chair for 17 years. There is not a thing about life that we don't hear about. People talk to us about it. They lean in on us. They feel safe. And oh, by the way, we get to do this thing called beautifying and making them feel good. And you've already touched on this, Mandy, but I want to hear your voice as a leading expert in this industry. Tell me about that for you and your team. I mean, we've kind of touched on it, but there's such this archetypal importance of the salon environment. And my second part of the question when you comment is, where do you see that going? How do you sort of as a visionary and a contemporary, how do you see with AI and this increasing culture of us moving away from touch and connectivity? And I know I just asked you two questions, but they're both so important, I think, in this podcast that I would love to hear your point of view on that.
Absolutely. I think I might be able to combine those 2 together.
Mhm,
Let
great.
me say it this way. So first of all, it is such an honor anyone chooses to walk through the door of my company and invest in my company and invest in my stylists. And with that, like by honoring that, it is exactly to your point because we are literally another therapist sometimes for our clients. And if for those of you who are listening right now, think about who your hairstylist is. If you've had a long term relationship with them, I'm sure they know more than most of your close friends, right? Is a lot of times what happens. And from the hairstylist perspective, we absolutely love and honor that relationship that we build with them. So now we're coming into a world where there's more AI, there's more tech. So how does this affect the industry? For service roles, so we'll say like the food industry, like hair industry, everything like that, it's going to be a while before we have any type of replication of employee from an AI perspective that's going to be able to well duplicate the service experience that we can provide to them. I'm not saying it's not going to happen eventually. I know that they're working on those things, but there's something really unique and special about these service-based industries and how they connect with clients, and it can't be replicated easily. Now, where we are seeing the integration of AI into these types of businesses is, of course, when you call into the front desk, you might start getting an AI model, or you might start getting like more automated booking systems, those things. And what I've seen over time, and I think what'll continue to happen with AI, is those systems are going to get smarter and smarter so they can be more customizable and personal to the person who's calling, inquiring about questions or what type of service is right for me. But what we're trying to do now and what we're seeing in with the current economy and the things that's happening with business, what we're seeing that has happened is it's not that people are necessarily afraid to spend money. We're definitely not seeing that. But what we're seeing is that the level of experience has to match the perception of investment that they're making with their dollars. So they have no problem spending $100 on a hair service as long as it's an exceptional experience. If you're doing something cookie cutter, it's not going to meet their expectations and they won't feel it was worth their value and they won't be back. So what we're trying to do in the salon right now is really focus on that client experience. And from every touch point with the client, from the first point of contact, whether it's on our website or by phone or from when they walk in the door, we need to make sure they feel valued, they feel seen, and they feel heard and appreciated for the choice to come through and support our company. So we're fortunate in the way that AI isn't going to completely take us over. They haven't figured out how to pick up scissors or to color hair yet, right? But there's really positive attributes to bringing these new technologies into service-based businesses, but we can't forget the value of client experience.
Very well said, and completely could not agree more because where I can relate to that is that I just wanted to capitalize on a couple things you said is, first of all, I think there's a lot of fear, right, that is being conjured up right now. And I love that you're You're not being assumptive. You're not being cocky about it, Mandy. You're like, hey, here's the deal. It's going to affect everybody. Check. We got that. But how do we, as industry professionals, given whatever career or your technical skill is, how do we level up reminding and showcasing and spotlighting the things that we do that are a point of difference? And that was leading me to my next question is I know how I feel when I come to Fix Salon and how I'm treated and what it looks, sounds, smells, and feels like, and what the practitioner is doing to support me, and how you show up as an owner and the slightest things. Like there was just like a little blah 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 with checkout because of something with the sales tax or whatever, and you leaned in and you gave me a call, and as the owner, jumped into that leadership, and we were like, good, 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 bada bing, bada boom, we're out. Like great. So not only do I see it, but I just experienced it literally a few days ago. But the thing that I love about what you said is I think, and give me your perspective of this. I think sometimes, because in my industry, people are running around, meaning brokers, with their hair on fire, going, "Oh my gosh, with the Redfin and the Zillow and the this and the that and the AI, I'm going to be extinct in about 5 minutes." And again, I am not suggesting it isn't impacting our industry, but I just won my buyer their offer out of 14 other offers in Westwood the other day, and it's like, that cannot happen with a computer yet. And until that day comes, how do I keep sharpening that saw and being the best to be able to do that? And that's what I'm hearing you say, is you have to be able to keep doing that and showcasing that to the consumer, right? And that's the point you're making.
Right, 100%. And I think whether it's in the real estate industry or whatever whatever the market is, because there's so many markets where this is applicable to. The
Mhm.
point being is that there's always going to be a need for one-on-one live person experience. And I'll say what's coming to mind right now is like booking a trip on Expedia, right? There's a reason why there's a value to the cost of when you're booking that trip on Expedia. However, you're getting maybe as a sacrifice is if something goes wrong on that booked trip, it gets really challenging to work through their automated systems to get to a resolve that feels satisfactory to you. So there's times in life, and there's a lot of different client demographics out there. And there's some client demographics that are going to fit really into low cost automated systems. They will work for them. And that's going to be amazing for them. And they should drive to those systems. But there is absolutely going to be a client base as well that sees high value and still that one-on-one experience. And to your point of what we had happen with you the other day in the salon, Kristine, is, I don't get really excited to expand my business into multiple locations or try to scale it to something larger because my goal was I grew up in North Idaho at a small salon. And what I loved about it is when a client walked through the door, every single person in the space knew that person. And
Mm.
I don't want to lose that personal touch. I think it's a special magic that we can do that's not everyone can do that. So I think what we have to do is be more clear about defining who is our audience of client and making sure we're attracting those who see value in that one-on-one personal experience.
Oh, I love that so much. Well, you guys are knocking it out of the park. You do it so well, and it feels seamless and super, super authentic. So thank you for leading by example in that way. That also then takes us to onboarding and training. My understanding, again, from you being one of my original mentors and being within the education culture, I have an idea of what that may even look like today, but I've been away from it now for 12 years. So producing the talent and the skill and the outcome that you expect, your standards, Mandy, your brand standards, give the listeners, and I know there's so many details, but just super high level, sort of what does that look like? Somebody gets out of their technical school training, they're shaking some leaves, knocking on some doors. They see all the awards Fix has gotten, best salon in Seattle year after year. They look you up. Holy cow, this woman is a national global educator, and they give you a ring and they say, I want to work with you, Mandy. Like, what does that look like for our listeners that really have zero idea in the onboarding that happens in a salon of your caliber?
Well, I think the first thing is making sure that anyone who's applying to us is the right fit for us. And I might have five potential candidates who are all incredible in their own unique style and ability. However, I need to make sure that they're a fit for my company, even though they might be super highly skilled. So what we always do is we invite stylists when we're in a recruiting mode to just come in and have a 2-hour shadowing experience with us. We partner them with one of our stylists. They get to meet our team. They get to live in our space and see how that feels. We are a smaller salon. Our salon space is about 900 square feet. We have 6 stations. That's definitely a vibe in its own. There's other salons that are huge and have 20 stations. There's other salons that are individual suites where you have 1 or 2 stations. So you just really want to make sure that the environment is a fit for them. And then also just coming back to making sure that our culture is going to match what their expectations are. In our culture, we do a lot of continuing education, but what I also think I've learned about what my flavor is of creating culture with new stylists is that I want them to have the opportunity to fly on their own as soon as possible. So there's sometimes recruiting processes where they're in one-on-one training for a year or more before they really start seeing their own clients. In our company, the first thing I ask them is, what do you feel confident doing? Let's immediately start introducing you to clients. And that's, you just went to school for this, you paid for this. Let's let you start having your experiences in your career. Then we find out where are the opportunities for growth. And then we start customizing education experiences for them to help them with those other areas where they are not as confident. But
Mm.
along the way, it still comes back to mindset, because the biggest thing we want to do is let every single one of our stylists know, whether they're in a recruiting phase or long-term stylist, is that this is a safe space. And there's been so many times where they have had past experiences where something didn't go as it was expected, and they felt as though it was going to jeopardize their role. And what I really always make clear to my team is that this isn't about getting it right or getting it wrong. That's not what creates job security. As long as if something goes wrong, as long as we have a conversation about it, as long as we learn from it, and as long as the next time you take what you've learned and try to put it into a place where you do better next time, that's what we really want to celebrate with you. So, especially with more junior stylists, they're always so afraid that I'm going to fire them if they make a mistake. We really want them to thrive, because if they're afraid to make a mistake, they're not going to grow. They're going to hold themselves back. So we have to really make sure that it's a safe space for them. And when they make those mistakes, this is kind of something that's really important, is we need to make sure that we celebrate with them. And it's not the first thing that comes to mind, like, oh, we make a mistake, don't we have to sit down and have a conversation? Like, no, we want to be like, oh my gosh, that was amazing. Give me a high five. I know that didn't go as you wanted to, but what did you learn in that moment? And really celebrate what they learned. Then that locks into their mind. It's actually like literally triggers your mind to know that you're in a safe space. And the next time you're unsure, you're still going to try it again, because you know you will be celebrated for the fact that you're growing rather than doing things wrong.
Wow, such a fortunate environment to work in. And the thing that it made me think of the entire time you were talking is when stuff's going really great, this is a model for life, certainly behind the chair and taking great care of clients at Fix Salon. But when things are going great, that's not generally when that character strength is most tested, right? Or the ability to one of the things I learned a ton at Redken back when I was a part of it, and I certain the culture still shares this sentiment is, laying blame, justifying and denying, right? When shit hits the fan, my words, and things aren't going great, especially when it relates to someone's aesthetic, it's like, what an opportunity, Mandy, for you as the salon leader to sort of see how that individual from an internal, I guess you would say, emotional intelligence standpoint, right? How does somebody handle that? It's a pretty big barometer.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Since you're in the business of making of creating an environment where people feel better, right, is the goal when they leave, or feel darn good. And they certainly looked all fluff and folded like I do right now with my fresh color and foil and cut. What is the most popular thing? Like, there might be people listening to this that like go to a barber and get a buzz cut, which is great. I had that cut too. I love it. There's no shame in that game. But from you living in this environment and staying, 10 steps ahead of trend and fashion and, what you see the consumer demanding, what would be your, if you had to say, like, the top 2 most popular things at the Fix Salon that folks ask for?
I'm going to say, like, here's who we are as a salon, who we are versus who we are not. What we do is our motto is that we listen, educate, and deliver. Because I think right now in service based industries, people are really missing feeling heard. So we really make sure that we take time to hear the needs of what our clients are asking for. As far as like what are the popular services we're seeing right now, I think what's popular is really listening to the wants and the needs of the person in our chair and then delivering to them what that image is. And
Mm,
while we are working on outside beauty, we know that what we're really trying to affect and develop in a feel good way is inside beauty. And if we make somebody feel good, then all of this outer beauty, it's great, but it just pops that much more when we have the confidence from the inside. I think from like service perspective of what we do, it's really about we have a wide array of stylists, all team based. We all work and train together. What I'm very proud of is the diversity that we have on our team and the unique style. And what we celebrate with our stylist is when they come in, we give them foundational skill sets. This is how you put in a foil. This is how you cut a bob. This is how you cut fringe. But what we really want them to be comfortable with and know is that we want to develop their unique style and flavor so that when our guests come in, we literally from our website, from a lot of points of communication with clients, we have actually, it's a quiz that clients can take and they can input their lifestyle and their interests and their wants and even their beauty budget. And it partners them with the unique style of one of our team members. So we really want to individualize the experience so that a client walking through the door knows that they're not just coming into Fix Salon for the client experience that we promise, but they're going to be partnered with someone who uniquely identifies and understands what their needs are and what their individual style is and can help deliver the results that they want to make them feel beautiful from the inside out.
that is what you're serving up. That is the most popular thing. Oh, I love that, Andy. Oh, so, so good. That being said, you are in a highly marketing focused, the good feelings have to come from within out. You perfectly explain that. But what do you do as an entrepreneur, as the business owner, as the marketing story stops at you? What are some of the things that you do to attract new clients, to ensure new consumers are coming in the door with all the accolades and reputation that you have?
I think for anyone who owns any business, but I'll say specifically all of us small business owners out there, the marketing cycle is real and it is fast and furious. And we are always trying to stay two steps ahead with our marketing tactics to make things happen. I am really fortunate. We have an amazing member of our staff. Her name is Hannah, and she runs all of outward facing client communications. And we have really been testing so many new marketing strategies and more than what we've done before. And for us, this means we're getting more into Facebook ads, we're doing more specific client targeted, flash promotions. And what we really have to do is recognize there's a few different scopes that we look through. So one, what are our needs long term? Looking at the month ahead, what are long term needs for the month versus what are our weekly needs for marketing versus what are daily needs for marketing? And it fluctuates based on how many things we have booked in the salon for the month. And then we are really mostly, we're identifying right now who are our target demographics for each marketing strategy. So we don't have one blanket marketing strategy that we just send out to every single client. We're really looking what are the more unique individual client bases and what are their needs and what can we do to strategically target to them. Who are people who've been in the last 6 months? Who hasn't been in the last 6 months? Who is concerned about gray coverage? Who is concerned about highlights? Who is concerned about maintaining short haircuts? So what we're
Right.
doing is we're really trying to get into more detail about our client focus and then creating marketing strategies that feel more customized to that group rather than generalizing big marketing strategies with them. And we're doing that through Facebook ads. We're doing it through text messaging, which is so much more prevalent now than it used to be, as well as email marketing.
I love getting the text reminders. It's so helpful, Mandy. And you're right. It's becoming like where I get my chiropractic work and all kinds of things. My dentist, everybody seems to be on that train because we're so living on our phones. I love that you're not a one size fits all, right? The marketing is not just it's like really intentional and really focused and taking those little baby bites back to mindset. So that's interesting. You're very on purpose about like not looking to scale and have, three more doors and, take it nationally, keeping that intimate, for those listeners that have not come to your salon. And this is a positive word in my mind. It has that very boutique, very super stylish, super on point, but that warm boutique vibe when you walk in and so professional. And so for your future, Mandy, looking at the Fix brand, like, it sounds like that's what you're looking for to keep it really community based.
I absolutely love the concept of keeping it community based. And I wouldn't have any interest in scaling unless we could ensure that. And
Hmm.
just in full transparency with all the other areas in which I invest myself into, I'm at a place right now with my current salon where I can control the customer experience in this space. I would have to give other things up in my life in order to scale and keep this level of experience through an expansion of things. And I
Yes,
think overall, my passion really lives in building people up in the hair industry. So I'm
right.
fortunate that I get to own a business in the hair industry and I have a team that I really appreciate and respect and love. But I also love getting to be across the country and having even a wider cast of influence in how we grow and develop salon professionals in our industry too. So I'm trying to keep all the plates balanced at once, but also making sure that I realize where my limitations are and don't go beyond that, so that I can continue to love what I do every day.
That brings up a really great point, and I think you and I almost had, like, a little slight, like, giggle about it when I was getting my color done by EXO the other day when you so graciously accepted the invitation to be on Superpower is, I think you said, Mandy, like, "Oh, it's not like you're doing anything, Christine, it's not sitting around eating bonbons," and I said, "Yeah, right back at you." But you brought up a point, and we've discussed this a few times on this show with various professionals like yourself, is I think there's this perception sometimes that if you have a role, right, a salon owner, a working hairdresser, a real estate agent in sales, that it's like, and I don't want to get too existential or deep or political about this, but it's sort of like, just stay in your lane, wear that hat. Like that's your job. And I think that that's a mentality that has sort of cursed. I'm going to give my own point of view here, sort of our culture. I think it's ladled and put on women in particular in our culture and society is this notion of, we're these very expansive, complicated, talented, interested humans. And you're a living example of that. You have your salon and I'm not sure if you're still seeing clients behind the chair, but obviously you've had a very tenured, illustrious behind the chair service providing career. You're a platform artist, you're a global educator, you have an Airbnb, you run other businesses. So what is your own personal viewpoint, Mandy, about that? And I don't know, and you can go as personal or not as you feel comfortable here, but there's times when I've gotten some pushback on that. And you're right, there's a fine line. We're only one person, there's 24 hours in a day, and you don't want to overwhelm yourself to where you're then not bringing your best game to whatever you're signing up for. I get that. That's not lost on me. But I think there's this pushback that sometimes happens in our culture around like, that's just so much. And the reality is, well, it's my life. If it's not too much for me, I'm good. What is your comment to that? Or what are your thoughts on that?
I think entrepreneurs are a special breed. So when we are self-employed and work for ourselves, we are always looking for like what's the next hoop to jump through. We are rarely satisfied holding still. So and I think it's in our DNA, right? Like there's nothing that pushed me into this. This is just how I am. But also, let me take it from this perspective as well, Kristine, is that there was a there was a research that was done something, and they asked high schoolers, list every single career that you can imagine. What are all those careers available to you? On average, the high schooler could only list 8 careers. And that's a really impactful fact, I think. And it's because, in that development stage of learning, they just don't have a lot of exposure to all the things that are available to them for careers. They know, like, probably what their parents are, maybe what their parents' friend do. They know that there's teachers. So there's limiting concepts of what they can go and become. I had gone to college and it wasn't a fit for me. So I dropped out. And then as I became a hairstylist, I was trying to decide if becoming a hairstylist was going to satisfy my parents' expectations of, academia for themselves. And at the time, I was talking with another stylist who happened to be a former Redken educator. And she said, well, in addition to working behind the chair, you can work for a hair care manufacturer. You can travel across the world doing things. You can teach. You can and work for a hair show. You can be a sales representative. Like, so many avenues that I'd never heard of before. And so I think sometimes too is, one, it's an individual choice. You have to decide, like, what's the best fit for you and your happiness and your work-life balance. But the other flip side of this is just a lot of people don't know all the opportunities. And I'll
Mm.
even just say there's a stereotype around being a hairstylist. And when I go back to my high school reunion and I say I'm a hairstylist because it's the most core of who I am at my being, I feel energy on occasion that feels a little put offish, or like they don't consider that a real career. But if I am going to go and list, like, well, I own a company, I travel around the world, I do all these things, I don't need to say those things to validate what I do and what I love to do. But I just think that sometimes people take for granted that being a hairstylist or being a real estate agent is one cookie cutter box of what that looks like. There's so many ways that you can expand that and develop it. So I think that you just really have to keep your eyes open and ask so many questions and listen to your heart. If it's driving you to have more in your life and the things that you love to do, find what those things are and follow it.
Hmm. Beautifully said. Thank you, Mandy. I really, really appreciate the conversation around that because I just don't think we can have it enough. You're right. It's exposure, sort of what ideas or biases or stereotypes have we learned along the way, be it from everything from our upbringing to our environment to, things we see in our imagery. So I really, really appreciate your strength in that and you leading by example. You're somebody that leads by example around having this very um exciting and well-rounded and interesting career life. That being said, because I want to make sure you get a few plugs here in addition to all the amazing gifts you've just given us in this 45 minutes, 50 minutes, tell us a little bit about your property that also folks listening to this, if you want us to put your link in the episode, we're happy to do so. But tell us a little bit about the property business that you also manage and run.
I'll say in general, I think, again, because I like to kind of break the stereotype when people say hairdressers. I very proudly have 3 different properties that I own, and one of them is a vacation rental that I have out in an amazing ocean shores. And it is a vacation property development called Oyhut Bay. And it's a beautiful community. If you are familiar with Seabrook, kind of the same, but it's a much smaller community feel to it, which is what I really love about it. Ocean Shores is a beautiful area on the Washington coast. If you haven't been there, I highly recommend you do so. And what I really, as I was saying earlier, trying to find more ways to find moments of quiet and peace and maybe take up some hobbies. So I bought this place with kind of that intention. I can be there in 2.5 hours. My dog and I, or my husband, we can get down there. And it has really become such a peaceful place for me to go. And also, as a result, now is an amazing, peaceful place for people I know to go, or people who want to rent the home to go as well. And I love walking down to the ocean with my dog and seeing, the tide come in and out and seeing the stars at night, which is something we don't get very often here in Seattle. So it's just been such a really amazing sanctuary for me. And I'm really proud to be investing into the city of Ocean Shores and to be a part of that coastal community out there as well.
That's off. Bravo, Mandy. I mean, just the diversification piece of everything you just said. It's the heart piece, brings you joy. It's your own retreat. You get to share it with loved ones. Yes, it's also an Airbnb business, which that's brilliant. But I think there's this thing about being on this journey of life, and you have really clearly helped us see some of the diversification, that entrepreneurial spirit in you, the courage it takes, the confidence, even on the days where you said you got to just jump off and figure it out. It's so relatable. It's been such an extreme pleasure to chat with you. I see you in and out of the salon and in different capacities. So this was just a gift for me to literally sit down for 45 minutes and talk to you. We do end every episode of Superpower with asking our guests if you had to define one superpower that you feel most connected to every day with all these amazing hats and gifts that you bring to us in our communities, what would that superpower be for you, Mandy?
I feel like today I'm going to say that my superpower is understanding that people's mindset is a muscle and it
Mm,
can be trained and coached to either lift you up for growth or it can hold you back and keep you exactly where you are. I happen to be very experienced in all of the roles that I work in to be able to understand individuals' mindset and be able to help them work that muscle to a place of positivity and growth. So that's what I love to do.
yay. Thank you. Thank you. We'll keep up the amazing work. And we're just so glad that you said yes. And thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. This has been so nice just to hang out with you for a little while too, Kristine.
Yay. Awesome. Thank you, Mandy.
You too.
Thanks so much for joining me for this episode. If you enjoyed it, I hope you'll make it easy for others to enjoy it too. You can do that by subscribing, writing a review, and sharing episode links with others. Then you'll be my superhero.